Hel- Hello, everybody. This is Global Warming Skeptic for some post debate comments. So, who won, Trump or Hillary? Well, I'm just going to comment based on the expectations that I remember from this video. If you watch this video, first presidential debate between Trump and Hillary, how everything is about to change, I gave a specific list of expectations of Trump, Hillary, and the audience, and I did it as objectively as I could. So, and again, I'm going to warn you guys that this is coming from the perspective of a Trump supporter. Um, and so if you see any bias, again, I've warned you ahead of time. So, what do I think of Trump's performance? Well, I think Trump did 95% of what I wanted. What Trump was what I call the good side of himself. He took charge, but he did not go overboard. He stated facts, he stated specifics, he mostly was competent policy wise. Um, he did not sound like a buffoon. He did not make remarks, and he responded to criticism reasonably. I would not give. I'd give him a C plus on that. I don't think he did the perfect job. I think he could have been more, um, I guess, supportive of his own stuff, or just owned up to what he did wrong. He didn't react perfectly, but he didn't react poorly to that. That would be one of the imperfections. Another tiny imperfection is I don't think he held Hillary accountable enough in the right areas. I can tell the desire was there, but I don't think that all the stuff was coming instantly up to the top of his head. You know, he might have been even been a little bit sick because he had the sniffles there. Maybe that was slightly slowing his mind down, but he did very well. Very well. I gotta give it to Trump. He even exceeded my expectations, and I expected him to do reasonably well. Now, what about Hillary Clinton? Well, she did. She was very tough on Trump, and I'm happy that she was. That's the one thing that she did correctly. She went on the attack. She hit him. She challenged him, but that's about all she did right because she offered almost no specifics. Everything was filler material, political talking points. They both had plenty of those. I'd like to see less of those from both, but she had very, very, very little substance. Very little. What I was expecting out of her was to get out of the, um, like, Trump is a monster, I'm a woman. And I don't think she used her biological sex that often, but most of what she said, most of her great highlights were anti Trump points. When it came to talk about herself, she said absolutely nothing. She talked a lot, but said nothing. No substance, very little substance. She said she was against, I believe, CAFTA. She voted against CAFTA. That was one of the few points that I remember. If somebody has more specifics, they can post it in the comments and I'll correct myself. But I heard very few things about herself. I also wanted to hear more about her record. What makes her uniquely qualified? And Trump did a great job of challenging her on this. In the last 30 years, or 26 years, as he was precise about, what has she done that makes her qualified to be president? And I even was hoping that she would give something, for example, about her experience as hell, as a defense attorney in Arkansas. But she gave nothing. There was no substance. And furthermore, another huge problem, and this is probably what lost her the debate in almost an objective sense. If you looked at Trump, now keep in mind, Trump actually beat her when it came to policy substance. I'll have to look at the fact checking to see the specific stuff. Because, yeah, he may have gotten some facts wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to say he was right because, you know, I just, people are right or if they're right or they're wrong if they're wrong. And, they've both made ridiculous statements in the past. But the objective point is, when you looked at Trump, you saw a lot of facial expressions, head tilting, looking at her, looking down, looking at the moderator, at Lester, I guess his name was, who he was addressing quite a bit. And that's actually good because he addresses people by their name. It's Trump appeared to be the more human. When you looked at Hillary Clinton, especially when something got started, when her feathers weren't rustled, when she was not forced to engage, when she got the questions, she was the most emotionless I've ever seen a candidate. No emotion behind anything she was saying. For example, about race. She was just recalling talking points and she was not being frank with people about how she felt. And you look at Trump, sometimes he was a little bit all over the place, but he was speaking like a human would speak to another human. When you looked at him and you looked at his expressions, whether you agreed with him or not, you could tell he was saying how he felt. When he talked about stop and frisk, it's not exactly something that's popular, especially with a country that's increasingly concerned with over surveillance. He stood by that position, and I don't agree with him necessarily. I don't think that we need to have more. I think that we need more police in certain areas, but I don't think we need to resort to those things. But the point I'm making is he stuck with that unpopular position, and he defended it, and I think he defended it very well, and he did it in a way where you knew he was frank and where he was coming from. And just everything about Hillary, from her face to her smile, was fake. Everything was deliberate to send a message as opposed to stating what she really thought. And this is going to be an ongoing problem with her because I don't think she's capable of looking human. That's why I made the specific request that the best thing she can do is hit Trump hard and challenge him. And when she did challenge him, she failed and she fell flat. Because he attacked her, he didn't attack her as hard as he could have, but he hit her pretty hard with a 5-ton sledgehammer instead of a 10-ton. He hit her record really well. He constantly referenced her as Secretary of State in her political record and mentioned how politics have not worked, his usual populist message, and he stuck to that plan well. And another key point was, during her first response, I can't remember, it was something about the economy. something about, I think it was jobs or something, and she spent the better part of 30 seconds trying to find a response, talking emptily. So I think, and I've also looked at some online polls. I looked at Times poll. Most of the liberal websites have her winning, but they're close. They're 52-48, 56-44. They're not far off votes. So it's heavily a partisan thing who won. Um, but if you look at Drudge, if you look at Drudge and you look at conservative websites, Breitbart, um, you'll see he wins 80-20. So a lot of it's partisan. It's going to depend very heavily on what the independents think, just because it's so close. And Trump's winning with independents. And I think one of the biggest things is, and I guess I'll end this here because there's not, you can only cover so much, is who's going to get all the Gary Johnson and Jill Stein votes when it comes to November. Because a lot of people, they're just not going to vote for those candidates because it's a wasted vote. And their numbers are going to go down because not being part of the debates, it pretty much seals that they have no chance. I still don't blame anybody for voting for them. Don't get me wrong. If you are voting for Jill Stein or Gary Johnson, please continue to do so because we need third parties to be involved, especially for the funding. If Gary Johnson could get over 5%, that'd be huge for libertarians in the future. But as far as who's going to get those votes because they're inevitably going to go down, that's going to be important. And I think Trump did a lot more than Hillary in order to convince them to. And so I'll just leave it at that. I have Trump. I don't think he slaughtered her, but he won. I'd call it, on a scale of 1 to 100, I'd say he wins 56-44 if I were to score it. Um, and that's that. Thanks for listening, guys. God bless. Have more videos in the future.